something started dripping on my forehead. Slowly, I brought my fingers to my brow and wiped the liquid on my hand. It was thick, black blood. I looked above me, and there, like a vampire bat, hung a creature with half of its face blown away. It let go of the chain, falling straight at me, and I did the only thing I could do. I dove over the rail into the flaming water. This is Bloodstone Manor. Suspended in the water, I felt the heat of the flames on my back and the frigid cold of the water beneath me. And my lungs already started spasming for air. I couldn't swim to the surface. A soft blue glow beneath the orange flames shone ahead, filtering through the water. I swam, feeling the drag of my clothes and shoes, chest burning, and I had to dive deeper. As I did, I felt the pressure of the water pushing in on my ears. As best I could tell, the blue light shone through a culvert in the tunnel wall. My head and back scraped against the top of the culvert as I furiously pulled myself through. And just as I was about to pass out, I finally broke the surface. I treaded water, coughing and sputtering, rubbing at my burning eyes. Getting my bearings, I was in a large black cavern with a single staircase beneath a blue light leading out of the water. I swam the 20 feet and crawled, hands and knees, up the stairs, ascending back into the castle. A mix of oil, water, and blood streamed down my body. And for all the insanity, I could only think of one thing. How could I not have saved Meg? I tried not to imagine the horrors that she had endured, but I saw what they did to Troy. I carried him on my shoulders. I couldn't get the picture of what was left of him out of my mind. I saw Meg's face, dead and lifeless. I saw her bones broken. I saw her body laying limp, alone. Absent-mindedly, I touched my arm where she had held me so close, and I winced, realizing I had likely fractured my elbow when I had slammed it into that beast's face, its bones as hard as the castle stone itself. That letter had led me to a living nightmare. And I just wish I could wake up. I reached the top of the spiral staircase and pushed open a heavy door. I wasn't even trying to be quiet anymore. It was everything I could do just to stay upright. Without any hope for the outside world, I staggered into a hallway, different than any of the others. This one was lined with doors on all sides. Dozens and dozens of rooms. Endless choices, but as I went from one to the next, they were all locked. Locked like this entire castle. Locked like my entire future. Shut away. And I ached with isolation even as I did my wounds. Every living creature dies alone, and I was no exception. I knew I would hear them again. I knew it wouldn't take long for the scrape of sharp claws on stone, for the hungry growls of these mindless creatures that knew only one thing: kill. And they came. In your most morbid moments, you always imagine, you always wonder, how might I die? But you never imagine this. Because how could this be real? How could they be real? How could this castle be real? I limped away toward the largest door of all, at the end of this hallway. The howls grew louder, and a door burst open. I threw my shoulder and every ounce of strength I had left into the sturdy door, expecting it to push back against me. Only this one burst open and I fell through onto my hands and knees. I turned quickly and kicked it shut, and a heavy latch fell. The door rattled as the creatures clawed and scratched. I could see their unnaturally long fingers and knuckles reaching underneath the door. Out of spite, I kicked my heel into some of the fingers, crushing them against the oak door, satisfied hearing the yelp. I struggled to my feet and turned, only to see another door. I was in a small room with nothing except 2 torches. I opened the next door, slightly smaller than the first, and walked through into another room with another door with 2 more torches. And again, and again, and again, room after room, the doors growing smaller, each time the flames growing a little dimmer. But I heard the creatures making their way through, splintering the doors. I had no choice but to keep pressing in. And finally I came to one last door, just tall enough for me to walk through without crouching. I stepped into a room different than all the others, different than the entire castle itself. Instead of ancient stone, it was bright white with security cameras pointed at the strangest door of all. A circular vault door nearly 12 feet in diameter. And yet again I had one way, one choice to make, one path to take. The vault had a circular wheel to crank it open. My left arm hung limp and useless, so I reached up with my right and pulled down as hard as I could. It took 3 or 4 tugs to get it broken free, but then it started turning easier and easier. And I heard locks click. The wheel stopped spinning, and the vault started swinging open on its hinges. I heaved it the rest of the way open, and just as I did, the final door behind me burst open, and the creatures forced me into the chamber. It was a concrete room, perfectly cylindrical, stretching up hundreds of feet, bleeding into black, overhead, as if at the bottom of an endless pit. The only thing different about the room was a large golden seal on the floor at the center, embossed. The same symbol that hung around my neck. I limped to the center and turned, watching the creatures pour into the room, surrounding me. I tripped backward and fell, landing directly on the seal. And as I did, it gave way, and the entire room started to shake, a low, grating rumble like metal on stone. All of the creatures cowered back and started whimpering, looking up above me. And I turned and saw what terrified them. A section of the wall started rotating. A cylindrical chamber was turning outward, rising nearly 20 feet from the ground. It spun, revealing glass. It looked like an isolation cell. And then I realized it was. Bright white lights flickered on, revealing a crouching figure with a black silk flowing cape, high collar and hood, facing away from us. The chamber ground to a halt, and the figure stood.